welcome to my backyard, and today I want to take you with me as I start turning it into a mountain biking trail. Before I ever started to dig or build anything, I took some time to ride around in the backyard and really get an idea of where it would feel right to put the trail and where it would feel right to put certain features in the yard. Starting at the top of the hill, I want to build some sort of drop right about here and then go ahead and do a berm to flow around to the other side of the yard. This is what I'm going to refer to as phase 1 of the trail build. After doing some planning and a quick trip to Home Depot, it was time to get started on building the first drop. The first thing I did was I built the support for the end of the drop. To do this, I took 2 tree stumps which I had laying around in my yard and I stacked them on top of each other. I do plan on replacing the 2 tree stumps stacked on top of each other with one taller tree stump that I'm going to dig into the ground, but I don't have it right now, so I'm going to have to wait and build it temporary like this. In the meantime, I needed to make the 2 tree stumps a little bit more stable. So I went ahead and cut 2 2x4s and screwed them into the top and bottom of the tree stumps to act as a brace. While this may not look very pretty, it would have to do until I got my hands on a bigger tree stump. Once the foundation was solid, I took 2 10-foot long 2x6s and screwed them into the side of the tree stumps. I wanted to have a decline before the drop in order to help gain speed to make the drop a little bit more fun. I took these 2x6s and measured them out so they'd be at a good angle to have a slight decline before the main part of the drop. After doing this for both sides and screwing everything together, the frame of the drop was starting to take form. After the main structure was all framed out, I went ahead and started cutting the slats for the riding surface. I cut all the slats at about 18 inches, as I thought this would be a good width for a riding surface. I used one of the boards as a divider, that way all the planks were at an equal distance from one another. After all the planks for the riding surface were screwed down, the drop was ready to be ridden. The next step was the landing. I used some rocks to mark where I was consistently landing. From there, I started digging into the hill in order to make it a little bit steeper, in hopes that that would make the landing a bit smoother. Once I had a decent landing cut out into the hill, it was time to start the berm. First, I took a rake and I went ahead and traced the path that I wanted the berm to follow. Then I used my shovel to carve into the side of the hill, piling up the dirt on one side to make a slight transition for the berm. The best tools to use for this job would probably be a flat shovel and maybe a tamp to pack in the dirt with. However, I don't have either of those tools, so I'm just making do with what I got. After riding everything like this for a while, I decided I wanted to make some changes. The first change I made was I added a second berm. The reason I did this was because I quickly realized the first berm was too close to the landing of the jump, so I wanted to make it a little bit further down the hill to give more time to recover after the landing. The next change I made was I took the 2 tree stumps, which I initially had supporting the drop, and I replaced it with one large tree stump, which I was able to bury approximately 2 feet into the ground. Next, I removed the small decline which I had at the top of the drop. I removed this because it wasn't giving me enough speed in order to hit the drop without having to pedal while I was on it. I decided to make a steeper decline before the drop. I wanted to make it somewhat like a quarter pipe. This took a lot of trial and error, but eventually I was able to come up with an idea that I feel worked very well. Once it was framed out in the general shape of a quarter pipe, I added some horizontal supports in order to strengthen the structure. Once everything was together and solid, it was time to screw down the riding surface. Now I had to problem solve a way to get to the top of the quarter pipe before dropping in. I dug a hole and placed another tree stump into the ground. I did this essentially to create a bridge in which I would be able to use to gain speed and balance before dropping in on the quarter pipe. I do realize that riding something like this could potentially be intimidating to someone who has never ridden a drop or a wooden mountain bike feature before. And one of my goals was to make features that anybody could ride, regardless of their skill level. In order to achieve this goal, I added 2 additional sections to this drop. The first section I added was I put a bypass at the bottom of the quarter pipe so riders can avoid the beginning section altogether if they choose to do so. And 2, I put a slope at the end of the drop so riders can choose to ride down it if they are uncomfortable or hesitant to descend it at first. Man, this is so much fun to ride. One of the coolest parts is there's so many different ways you can ride it. I am so stoked to keep riding this thing and find new creative ways to learn new bike skills. If you enjoyed this and want to stay up to date with the future phases of the bike park build, remember to like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you think I should build next. I hope this inspires you to go out and build something, or at least just get outside and ride your bike. Thanks for watching.